Volleyball is a sport that has existed for over 120 years but was mostly unknown to the masses. Most people, when thinking of team sports, they would talk about football, basketball, rugby, or ice hockey, but volleyball was under the radar for most people. That is, until the early 2010s, when the sport had a resurgence of sorts, partly due to an anime called Haikyuu. But hey, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. My name is Kokoro, and in this video I will be talking about why I like volleyball. If you have even slightly dabbled in the world of volleyball, you might have heard such terms as setter, spiker, libero. Yes, that is how I would pronounce it, please don't kill me. You might think they are racial slurs, but they're actually not. I'll talk about what these actually mean and how you even get started playing volleyball. To keep it brief, volleyball is a team sport which is comprised of two teams of 6 playing on an 18 by 9 meter court. The court is split in half with a net dividing the two sides. For men's volleyball, the net is 2.43 meters tall, and for women's volleyball, it's 2.24 meters tall. Furthermore, on each side of the court, there's another line that divides it in half, known as the attack line. 3 players are situated in front of the attack line and the other 3 players are situated behind the attack line. This goes for both sides. The goal of the game is to make the volleyball hit the ground of your opponent's side of the court whilst making sure it doesn't hit your side. Each team only has a maximum of 3 touches of the ball, with the last one having to send the ball to the other side. The catch with volleyball is that you can't actually catch the ball, pun somewhat intended, but you're only allowed to have a short-term contact with the ball, with either receiving it, setting or tossing it, and spiking it. So it's a game of non-stop action, with you having to be quick on your feet and reflexes and quick with your decisions. The main positions you would have in a team are a spiker or hitter who tries to hit the ball with force to the other side of the court, a setter who sets up the team's hitters with easy to spike passes, a middle blocker, usually the tallest in the team, who along with spiking tries to block the opponent team's spike from going through. There are of course subcategories for each position, like an outside hitter or opposite, or a vanguard, but the most noteworthy one is a libero, who is a player who solely focuses on defense and is not allowed to run any offensive play whatsoever. As I mentioned in the beginning, volleyball wasn't too popular until a manga and anime called Haikyuu brought it to light. Haikyuu, with its relatable characters, amazing animation, superb soundtrack, is what exposed volleyball to the masses, and it spawned countless fans and enabled a new generation to the sport of volleyball. I would highly recommend checking out the anime, even if you don't enjoy anime or are not too sure about volleyball as a sport. It's a superb show. The great thing about volleyball is that it is super easy to get into and is quite simple, but it becomes super fun and competitive once you start getting good. Each rally in volleyball always feels very different. You might have a simple one where you do a good pass to the spiker and he spikes it past the blockers into an easy point for you, or an insane rally where the libero manages to save the ball last second and you run behind the ball to try and get it over. Man, I'm just getting excited by talking about these moments. Also, it may not be as flashy as say dunks in basketball or goals in football, but there is nothing as satisfying as spiking the ball perfectly and seeing it crash into the ground. Now here's what I think is the best part about volleyball. I would say it's the most team-heavy team sport. What do I mean? Well, unlike other team sports like football or basketball, you're not allowed to touch the ball more than once by yourself. So you are in a way forced to include everyone on your team with each rally. Now I know football and basketball heavily rely on team play as well, but that is when you get people who have the same level of playing skill. Most of the time, if you're playing a sport, it will be with your friends or peers who have different playing skills. And this is when team sports become unfun because of how I like to refer to them, solos. These are the players who have the most aptitude with the sport, thus they only rely on themselves to carry the team. This results in you rarely getting the chance to be involved with the sport and are only there to pass to the good player and letting them do their own thing. Most of the time, this increases the pride and ego of the player and they start including their teammates even less. This isn't because they are necessarily a bad person, but it's just the psychology behind having to do everything by yourself. This is where volleyball shines the most, as a single player cannot carry the whole team. Rather, it is the team's effort that carries the team, which might seem obvious, but it's easily forgotten with other sports. Now, with anything that is good, of course, there are the bad with it as well. For one, volleyball is a sport of height. Taller players are always the most formidable. But this isn't always the case. You can have shorter players who can beat these taller players through jumping power, spiking power, or just the technique they use. The best real life example I can think of is Coach Tony from the channel Elevate Yourself, who frequently plays in US volleyball leagues. He is 178 centimeters, which is about 5'10", but still plays exceptionally well against taller players despite his height. But these types of athletes are pretty rare to find. You have to work exceptionally hard, even more so than people born taller, in order to compete at the same level. And if that isn't something you're willing to do, you won't be able to enjoy top level volleyball against taller opponents. But hey, that might not be of concern to you, which is perfectly reasonable. The other problem with volleyball, I would say, is that it requires a lot of people and equipment to get started with. Most of the time, it's pretty difficult to get 12 people to agree on one thing. Volleyball is definitely playable with 2 people per team, like beach volleyball or one-on-one, but it's not the same exciting team sport. I mean, even just the equipment is pretty expensive. The cheapest net I could find on eBay was £90, I believe. So it's quite expensive if you don't have open gyms or volleyball clubs near you. So these are my thoughts on why I like volleyball. Just to clarify as well, I'm not downgrading any other sports that I mentioned in this video. You are free to like them more, this is just one man's opinion and experience. Do you agree with what I said in this video? Is there something I missed? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video itself, please consider leaving a like and subscribe if you'd like to see more of these types of videos. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. See ya!